Loading label images with an SD card onto the ALX printer is quite simple, but one needs to know how to do that. We have an SD card now loaded here on the computer. As you can see, there's absolutely nothing on the SD card. And this is the SD card. If I take this SD card out, you will of course see how the window disappears. So now I have the SD card in my hand, walk over to the printer and plug it in. Okay, we are now at an ALX 94 printer. We're gonna take the SD card and plug it in. And once the SD card is in, we turn on the machine. Okay, the machine has cycled on. We turn the machine off, and now we go over to special functions, and we delete spooler, factory settings, store parameters, select SD, store parameters without adjustment parameters, set up ALX 925. So we just go through and it gives it a name. And that's all good. So now we're gonna go back to the computer and I'll show you what's on the card. Okay, back to the computer. We plug the SD card back in. And the SD card pops up. And now you see how there's 5 files on the SD card. The ALX machine creates those 5 files. And you want to go into the one that's called formats. And as you can see now, this file we just saved on the machine is in here. This setup file is a great file for remote diagnosis. If you have any kind of issues, if you have things that you cannot decipher, why is it happening, you can send us this very setup file without adjustment parameters. You send us this setup file, and then we can go through and detect if there are any issues with that. So now in order to send a print job to the ALX 924, here's how we do that. We have the print software open, which is the nice label software, and now we click on print. Print. So now what we want to do now, we want to select print to file. And amount of labels doesn't matter. Why here's one selected, but it doesn't matter. You don't need to change that. And now we just click on print. Now this is the very we actually need to select now here this formats file. And now we save that as red dog blue cat. This is actually for a customer. We won't rename that now because this is just a demo. So now you see how we have a file on here that's called Red Dog Blue Cat PRN. What we need to do now, we need to rename this, and we need to give it a file extension of FOR. FOR. Yes, you want to rename that? Okay, now we are done on the computer and we go back to the applicator. We take this out. Okay, now we are back at the machine. We take this very SD card, we just loaded the label image on it, plug it into the machine, turn the machine on. You want to hold it? Okay, we are online. Of course, we want to be offline for this. We push now button 2 and button 4. And look what we find here. Select file reddog.bluecat.for. That's the one we want to load. Button 2 confirms, yeah, we actually want to load that. Now you can select the quantity. Well, okay, 1. And let's make 150 of them. So now, once we push this again, we just loaded it up. So now you can load another 150 if you want. Actually, let's make 1501 just so you see what happened. Okay, so now we push button 2 and 4 again, and now you're back on the home screen. Now if you see, we have now 2 jobs loaded. The first one is 150. So I decide I don't need that job. I want to delete it. I go back into special functions and I delete this job. So now I go back online and I still have 1 job. Which job is that? Aha, that's the one for 1501. So this is how you load the images. You go online, now you label this job. If you're done with this job, just like I showed, you go back to special functions. And if you only want to delete that job, you would delete that job. If you have several jobs in there and you want to delete everything, you delete the spooler. Now there is absolutely nothing in here, as you can see, no more jobs. That's it.